Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here with OddsJam. Understand today is a big NFL day, but we still have NBA games being played. So here I am to give you my favorite NBA player props for today. NBA player prop best bets today, Sunday, January 29th. So going to be hopping on OddsJam, hopping on the positive expected value page to find these sharp NBA player props. Using OddsJam has been incredibly profitable for me. We actually just made some pretty cool updates to the bet tracker where you can have the sweat station. If I go to today, look at all my upcoming bets. As you can see, I have a ton of upcoming bets, a lot of it for the NFL games today. You can track all of your bets live as they go on, and it's really, really cool. But regardless, using OddsJam, I've been using it for about beginning of football season last year, so September of 21, has been really, really profitable for me. I'm up just under 23K using OddsJam. This week alone, I'm up a ton after an incredibly profitable, this would have been Friday night, as you can see. If I go to my sweat station, look at Friday night, I was up, or maybe it was whatever night it was. I had a really, really great night one of these weeks. And that's all from using OddsJam. Now, that's not me saying that you're going to win every single bet or that you're going to profit every single day, every single month, every single week, because variance happens. It's the nature of sports betting. Now, these take a little bit of time to load because there's a ton of data being calculated. But as you can see, this is my profit over time weekly. Majority of weeks I'm up, but it's not every week. It's also not every month. So I think understanding that variance is a part of sports betting. It's an unfortunate nature of sports betting, but just understand that you're not going to win every bet week. You're going to win every bet. You're not going to profit every day, week, month. But if you're consistently placing profitable bets, it will work out in the long run. So with that in mind, let's get to these picks. Looking at number one, Jimmy Butler under 20.5 points. So I already locked this one in at Bet365, excuse me. We're looking at Jimmy Butler under 20.5 points. It's bolded. It's got the blue rectangle around it, basically as a sign saying bet me. And everything is derived from these no vig odds here. So OddsJam calculates the perfect line of this to be at about plus 110. And we're getting the odds of this bet all the way up at plus 120. So a lot of important stuff to glean here. The most important thing is these no vig odds here. So when it comes to sports betting, as you can see in this screenshot, odds range from plus 120, which is the Bet365 number, looks like all the way down to minus 117. That's a pretty massive gap for the same exact play. Same exact play, huge difference in odds, huge difference in payout. Well, when it comes to sports betting, there's some sports books that are consistently better than others at pricing odds. Some sports books that just over the course of time are better. Now, there's a couple different reasons for that. Number one, it's really all about how much money that they accept on certain plays. The more action a sports book gets, the more accurate their lines are to reflect the market. And that's kind of, those sports books generally are more right more often. So some sports books are better than others. Well, if we're going to, basically what OddsJam does is we're not going to outsmart the sports books. We're not going to be able to predict lines better than the sports books. But what we can do is track the data of what sports books are the sharpest and use them to set the market moving forward. Essentially use them to set the lines. So in this case, this market, this line, should truly be priced at plus 110 because OddsJam pulls odds from the sharpest sports books in the world. The sports books that consistently do the best job at pricing odds feed into these numbers here. And it's a 10-cent gap. So if you think about it from like a holistic view, let's pretend there are 5 sports books that are consistently the best at pricing odds. OddsJam pulls lines from those 5 sports books, removes the VIG using a weighted average, and then simultaneously scanning odds from all major sports books, all major markets, trying to find opportunities where we can get better odds than the no VIG line. Basically saying, this is the true value of the market. We are able to get better odds, which just means higher payout, so better for us as the sports bettor. And that's going to be profitable in the long run. So play number 1, Jimmy Butler under 20.5 points. This is my first play of the night. Next up, we are looking at Jaren Jackson Jr. who does have a pretty big scandal going on, but that's about the defensive stats. You can't fudge the numbers for points. Jaren Jackson Jr. to go over 17.5 points, minus 111 odds at Caesars. The OddsJam perfect line prices this at minus 113, a little over that, closer to minus 114. So the gap between these two numbers, that is where your profitability comes from. I locked in this one as well. I put, as you can see, my unit sizing for player props is basically either, if it's plus money, risk 75. If it's not plus money, risk to win 75, which is 3/4 of a unit for me. So basically, my unit sizing for player props is 3/4 of a unit. So in this case, we're minus 111 are the odds that we bet. Next thing you want to do, and I do this for every bet that I place, you want to look at the odds of the bet you're placing and compare that to the rest of the betting markets. The goal here, and why we do this, is to try and make sure that the bet we're placing is truly an outlier compared to the rest of the sports books, right? Is the bet that we're placing an outlier compared to the majority of the sports books, including the sharp ones? So let's compare. Minus 111 is the bet that we placed. Pinnacle, which is given the heaviest weight as the sharpest sports book in the world, they price this all the way up at minus 138. That's 27 cents higher than the Caesars line. That's a really good sign. DraftKings has this all the way at minus 130. DraftKings is also pretty good with player props. That's a good sign. We see two books that are close, Betfred and BetMGM, but then Bet365 is at minus 125. Ballybet is at minus 130. You can ignore these three, Monkey Knife Fight, Underdog, and Prize Picks, because they're DFS companies, so they have the same odds for everything. But all in all, this minus 111 is a pretty good price. And then another thing that you can do, so as I've kind of shown you, sportsbooks are all going to have different odds for the same exact play. In this case, we're looking at the over-under 17.5 points. Well, sportsbooks are also going to have different lines for what they price a market, meaning not every single sportsbook is going to price Jaren Jackson Jr.'s point total at 17.5. They might have it at 16.5. They might have it at 18.5. And since we're betting the over, what you want to do is view this event page in a new tab and make sure, okay, if a sportsbook doesn't price it at 17.5, do they price it higher? Which is another way of them saying they think it's going to go over, 17.5. So let's look into it. You just open event page in a new tab, which is what I did here. We want to find the player, Jaren Jackson Jr. And this is exactly what we are looking for. Let me zoom out just a little bit. We lock the over 17.5. Looks like there are 4 sports books that price it a point higher at 18.5. Not only that, but the other sharp sports book that didn't have odds for the previous play is Bet Online, which is this column right here. See, Bet Online. They price this. Not only do they price it 1 point higher at 18.5, but they also favor the over as the more likely scenario, right? They favor the over at minus 118, the under at minus 110. That is Bet Online telling you they think the more likely scenario is that Jaren Jackson Jr. goes over 18.5 points, so they make it more expensive to buy. That's a really, really good sign for us. Not only do they price it a point higher, but they think it's more likely to go over. So this Jaren Jackson Jr. over 17.5 points is a really good play. Either sportsbooks price it at 17.5, but much heavier juice it. I didn't say that right, but give it much heavier juice to go over than the Caesars line, or they price it a point higher, which is another example of them saying they think it's going to go over. He's going to go over 17.5 points. So this is play number 2. Last play to round out the picks for today. Only going to have 3. Tyler Herro over 4.5 assists. This is at plus 133 odds at BetRivers. Novig line prices it below this at about plus 132. So even though it's a smaller gap, it's still a gap nonetheless, and that's the important part. Then you want to compare the plus 133 odds to the rest of the sports books. And as we can see, BetRivers at plus 133. Let's start with Pinnacle, plus 117. Let's look at BetOnline, plus 117. Let's look at DraftKings, plus 120. Let's look at every other book. The highest, the closest to BetRivers is plus 120, which is all these different sports books. So this BetRivers line is at a minimum 13 cents higher than every other sports book. That's another example of a bet that's an outlier and a bet that's a really good play that you're going to want to take advantage of. So this is my third and final pick for this video. 3 for you guys to lock in for today. And that's going to be it. So if you're tailing these, comment and let me know. If you're waiting on NFL picks, I would recommend checking out the OddsJam YouTube channel. Have a ton of stuff out for the NFL, also coming out for the NFL. So that's it. If you want to find me on social media, you can at my Twitter handle you see on the screen here, Jedi Modi. And that's it. So appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.